Save the cat. Kick the dog. Morality pets. Today we're going to talk about some very common screenwriting tropes you can use in your story involving animals, literally, but also figuratively. So let's get to it. What does save the cat mean? Save the cat can mean two things. First, it's a very famous screenwriting book written by Blake Snyder, who coined the term save the cat, but it's also a type of scene, the save the cat scene. Saving the cat is when you have your protagonist doing something good early on in the story so you can establish him as a likable person, somebody you want to root for, have a beer with. This is what most people mean when they say save the cat or saving the cat. It's basically a tool of empathy. It's supposed to make audiences care and get behind your main character. Because in film, making your main character likable is everything. I mean, aside from having some cool hi-fi concept, having a character that people want to go watch, that they want to invest their time, spend their money, it's the best thing your story could have going for it. So these save the cat moments where you have your character doing these good things, at least it's an attempt to establish your character as likable. But here's the secret to making those scenes work. You have to have your hero be punished for it. You have to make it so that doing the good thing is hard. It's difficult. So let me give you some examples. Aladdin. And this is the example that Blake Snyder used in his book, 1992, Disney and their storytelling prime. In this story, Aladdin early on is stealing a loaf of bread, and he's being chased by these those are the king's guards. I guess they don't have anything else to do, so they're chasing this guy who stole this bread, the elite king's guard. He's ducking them, he's dodging them, he's jumping rooftops and overcoming all these obstacles to get away. He finally gets away, and when he's about to eat his bread that he worked so hard to steal, he sees two little kids in the alleyway, and they're starving, so he gives them the bread. Oh. That moment in and itself is a great save the cat moment. You have the main character who he worked hard to win this object, and he sacrifices it for the little kid. And to further add on top of that, they run into oncoming traffic. They're about to get hit by this rich prince who's on his way to the palace to try to court the princess. A little foreshadowing. And then he gets tossed in the mud and he gets ridiculed for it. So he sacrifices, he does the right thing, he gets punished for it. That is what made Disney storytelling so good. It's not just one thing, it's multiple things piled up on top of each other. Man, you're hooked. That's the kind of writing that makes audiences fall in love with the character, that makes you stick around, it makes you want to dress up like them for Halloween. Another example, which I've mentioned in my How to Write Amazing Characters video, which you should go check out as soon as you finish this. I mentioned this example in that video when I talk about Save the Cat, but the movie The Patriot, great example early on in that movie when Mel Gibson is taking care of the wounded soldiers. He's taking care of both sides, and then a British officer comes in and burns down his farm for helping the rebels and shoots his son, and he's severely punished for it. And as an audience member, you're immediately hooked. Just a great example. Saving the cat, but have your hero be punished for it. And just to expand on this idea a bit more, having your hero be good when it's difficult. For example, the movie Training Day. The rookie cop. He's saving the cat throughout the whole story, constantly doing good, constantly making the right choice and getting punished for it. and it reaches a boiling point in the climax of the movie. They're conducting a drug bust and they end up stealing the drug dealer's money. They fake a murder, and he's faced with all this corruption, and he has to make a decision. Does he do the right thing or does he go along? It's so much easier if he just went along with what was happening. That's what really hooks audiences. There's other characters that kind of follow this archetype in TV. When I think of characters like Rick Grimes, early on in that show, Rick Grimes constantly doing the right thing and getting punished for it over and over again. Another example to throw out there, the Starks from Game of Thrones, always doing the right thing, the only characters that never lie, and they're constantly being backstabbed and cheated and murdered. So in the face of all these negative effects, doing something good anyways. That's what really hooks audiences. So that was saving the cat, the longest and most important trope. But I want to go over some other tropes that are similar. The first one is called petting the dog. Pet the dog. Petting the dog is when you have one of your meaner characters, like an anti-hero type or the villain, do something good in order to soften their image. You could have your character literally pet a dog or an animal. For example, in the movie Godfather, Marlon Brando's character, it opens up with him just kind of petting a little kitten while he's like ordering an assassin hit. Just super ironic. In the movie Apocalypse Now, there's a scene where the US soldiers are patrolling the river and they mistake a civilian boat for the enemy. So they massacre a bunch of innocent people, women, children. It's a horrific scene, but at the end of it, they end up finding a cute little puppy, and it's a classic pet the dog moment. Have your character do some evil shit, then show him petting a puppy, and everything is all good. The next trope I want to talk about is kicking the dog. The kick the dog scene. This is when a character does something bad or evil just for the sake of being bad. It doesn't move the story or plot forward at all. It's there simply to demonstrate that this is a character that shouldn't be sympathized with. Somebody who's pure evil. And while I usually prefer my villains with more depth and ambiguous morals, sometimes you just need a character to be straight up evil and scary. For example, the movie Snatch, Guy Ritchie, Bricktop, the main gangster in that movie, he's like into dog fighting, okay, super evil. He makes the dogs fight. He's always hitting them with his cane. Or Star Wars, Darth Vader. His force chokes, you just see him there just choking somebody, tossing them right in the opening scene of the movie. Or Lil Z from City of God. Okay, that guy is just the devil. The devil incarnated in film. So the next trope I want to talk about is the evil detecting pet. In movies and stories, a lot of times pets and animals act as almost like a evil detector. For example, Game of Thrones. The dire wolves, they like detect which characters are bad. They know every time they growl or bark at a certain character, you know they're bad. It's a common trope that animals in movies can detect evil. Another example is the Disney classic Little Mermaid. There's a scene where Ursula is in her human form and she's brainwashing Prince Eric to love her instead of Ariel. Well, his dog is able to sniff out that she's an evil witch in disguise. And there's a moment where she kicks him. What a bitch. So we have a evil detecting pet combined with a kick the dog moment. Disney with the potent storytelling, combining ideas. Moving on. So the next trope I want to talk about is subtle, but it could add for some interesting moments in your story. And it's called licked by the dog. Getting licked by the dog is when a pet or a child, usually somebody or something innocent, unwittingly does something nice to our villain. It makes for a funny moment and can kind of deflate your villain's pompous attitude. The best example I could think of is the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Judge Doom, our main antagonist who hates cartoons, wants to kill all the cartoons and get rid of them. Early on in one of the crime scenes, there's a little cartoon shoe, super cute, comes and starts playing with him, and he's like trying to be all evil, and they got this little cuddly little cute shoe, and the way your character responds to these lick the dog moments is also very telling. In this case, he gets the shoe and dips it in acid. I mean, what an asshole. Do you not want to see this guy die? The next trope I want to talk about is morality pets. Morality pets are like a reoccurring incarnation of Pet the Dog. Characters who act as a moral compass for some of your badder characters. For example, Han Solo, Chewbacca. That's his morality pet. He acts like a jerk to everyone else, but he cares about Chewbacca. And that's what morality pets are for, to give some of your badder characters an anchor and maybe a thread of redemption. A lot of times these morality pets act as a way to redeem bad characters. For example, in Game of Thrones, the Hound character, this guy's ultimate jerk. He's mean to everybody, but throughout the series, he ends up befriending Arya and starts taking care of her and looking out for her, and that becomes kind of like his morality pet. And he eventually becomes a better character. So the last trope I want to talk about is called Andrle Lion. This is an old Greek myth about a slave who befriends a lion, and then that lion comes back to save him. This is basically when a character helps out an animal or a creature, only for that animal to come back later on in the story and help our character out. I used to see this trope a lot in cartoons. Pokemon. That's how Ash Ketchum, that's how he meets all his Pokemon. Okay, they're injured, he saves them, and later on in the episode, that Pokemon saves him in return, and then they're friends. In the new Avatar film, Way of Water, there's an inverted situation where Jake Sully's character is drowning and he's rescued by a whale, and then in return, he helps the whale by removing this harpoon that was stuck on him. And then the whales come back later on in the movie and help kick ass. It's a very common trope, but a lot of these ideas can be extended to characters, not just animals. For example, the Adam Sandler movie Billy Madison. He's trying to make amends for being a bully, so he calls like this old guy he used to bully in high school and apologizes. And then in the end of the movie, he comes out of nowhere and rescues him. I'm glad I called that guy. That's a Andrle Lion moment. A lot of people thought that was a Deus Ex Machina, but there is a scene that established that connection. So you can get away with twists and surprises as long as things are established. In film, nothing is ever given. Everything is established, everything is earned. Another example is Training Day. I know we've talked about Training Day a couple times, but the scene where the rookie cop saves this girl from being raped by these two guys. Then later on in the story, he's about to get killed by some gangsters, and we find out that that was his cousin he saved earlier, and they let him go because of it. So that is an Andrle Lion moment there. And I love the way we find out Pablo Escobar, he calls up his cousin, and she's all like, I don't know, these two guys, I think they wanted to like rape me or something. Really brushing off that trauma there. So that is Andrle Lion. When a character does something good to an animal or person early on in the story, and then that person comes back later on and helps them in some way. Anyways, I'm done here. That's the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and go watch more videos on loop all day.